Greetings, I'm David Kong, the founder and principal of It's Personal Stories. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to empowering personal success. Today, we are delighted to welcome Roland Elter. He is the Chief Commercial Officer and Managing Director of Sales Marketing at Maritim Hotels in Germany. It's a delight to welcome you, Roland.
Hi, David. Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
You're welcome. I followed your career journey for a while. You spent 20-some years in this industry, and you've worked for some very well-known hotel companies. It's indeed a very interesting journey. Would you mind to share some highlights and describe some of the factors that contributed to your success?
It sounds a little bit old school, maybe. I just always try to do the best in my job I can. From this, things appeared. People came over and asked me, "Hey, Roland, you're the one, we need to do this and this. Why don't you come over?" Extra mile was never a problem. Looking back, I was part of the rebranding team when my former employer, NH Hotels, took over a big German company. And it was an effort to bring a new brand into a totally new market. There was another very remarkable situation. I was in this team when we brought two different hotel companies, one from Russia and one from Europe, to make a pan-European company out of that. That was a restructuring process. The third thing was my current role, to restructure the whole commercial operations, to organize the transformation to a more digital setup. That was great. And unfortunately, as also we went through the COVID crisis quite well. Get all these problems somehow solved and are still a family-owned company. That was something. So that's probably the highlights I can mention.
It's no wonder you've done so well. You have accrued some amazing experiences, restructuring, rebranding, overcoming severe challenges like that. It's no wonder you've done very well. Now, given all that experience, what is the most important lesson that you've learned on your journey?
People are very individual, and it's not one size fits all. What I took with me over the years is when you want to build great teams to achieve big goals, you need to be very detailed and understand who is with you there. There's a second thing I took with me: no vision, no success. People need to know what they are working for, what is the goal. If you don't have an idea, people are not going to follow. That is probably the most very important.
Yeah, so true. People have individual needs, and as leaders, we need to recognize them. But like what you said about vision, because people need to come to work with a purpose and know what they are supposed to accomplish. Thanks for sharing that. And along the same lines, what is the best advice that you've ever received?
I was honored to work with quite a lot of good people and very successful people, not in this industry only, but in other industries as well. There was one thing I really liked, and that is, let the client have the freedom to choose. And that's what I got from a tutor from the ISIC Business School in Spain. Javier Olguera always said, "Roland, the client has the freedom to choose." That is one very important thing. And the second one was my father giving me. And he said, "Hey, boy, don't give promises. Don't give promises you can't keep on your own." That is always in my mind. When I have to make decisions every day, and I have to give solutions, I have to give ideas, I need to give perspectives and all this kind of stuff, but I always have to be very careful. We need to be able to reach what we like to do here. Right?
That is such good advice. I especially like the advice that your father gave. Don't overpromise. People don't like disappointments. I like that. Now, you've experienced a lot of challenges and disappointments in your career journey. What is the general approach to facing challenges, and how do you overcome disappointments?
Very honestly speaking, that's very hard for me. I struggle with setbacks and with disappointments. That is for me really challenging. My approach is trying to find a view on this challenge, to understand what happened here, to understand where I made something wrong or what kind of influence was the reason for this, in order to not do one mistake two times, right? And so from there to come back in a mode what is solution orientated, and again trying to make out of these a kind of opportunity to grow. But that is very hard. For me, it's very hard because I have to overcome my emotional situation here. But yeah, I think mindset is important, and that's where it starts and where it ends. When something is happening and you have a setback and you're very disappointed, I need to take a breath and try to find the settings, try to find a perspective from where I can look on it. and hopefully find and analyze so that things are not happening the second time. That's a little bit it, yeah.
So true, right? Especially when you're facing challenges and disappointments, it's difficult not to be angry or say, why is it me? And why do I have to deal with this? It's very natural, but your advice about staying calm and looking at the situation in an analytical way is very good advice. Thank you. Now, a lot of companies and individuals have guiding principles that help them with decision making. Curious, do you have a personal mantra? And if so, what is
I would probably say, be yourself and just do it. Don't wait for others. You have to take decision. No one is doing your job. No one is helping you to be where you are. You have to find that out, and you have to be able and capable to do things, to execute things. Just do it. That is something what always comes up. Yeah.
That's good. Now, you said earlier that you believe in working hard and doing a good job. And you've done very well because of that, because people have recognized your achievements and have given you new opportunities. But a lot of people find it difficult, especially in big organizations, to be noticed and recognized for their good work. What is your advice on self-advocacy? Because it's a very difficult thing to do. You want to promote yourself, but you don't want to seem boastful. But at the same time, you want to make known your achievements. So what is your advice on self-advocacy?
It is very difficult. Generally speaking, the right answer is probably you have to quantify and display everything you do, but you have to have an audience for it. And then there's always this risk if you go everywhere and say, oh, how great I am, these show off, these type of thing. Nobody wants to see that. My recommendation or my personal experience was I try to find sounding boards to reflect things I want to do, to let other people be involved to see, yeah, he's asking me for my opinion. And so I understand the purpose. And so people are more aiming to follow you, what you are doing. And when you're successful, you can go back and say, you remember, I was asking you this and this and involved in the plans I had. So the concept was shared. I probably took the one or the other recommendation from you. So that makes sure that these people are interested in what's coming out of it. And difficult is when you do it on your level, it won't help. These people up above you needs to understand, right? If you want to be identified, those people needs to have it. And that is also to, I don't want to say you have to do an elevator pitch every time you see someone, but just to make sure the one or the other head of department or a C-level executive or whatever, you feel, oh, may I can ask you, I just want to be reflected on this and so on. People understands what you're doing and then they're interested what comes out of it. So that's a little bit my experience. I did it from the very first beginning, not on purpose. It was just a part of myself. And people came up to me from the C-level or from the board and say, hey, young boy, what happened with this and this, what you told me, right? And so it helped to be recognized. And then, of course, you need to be prepared and need to show results and measurable results, KPIs, right? And that helps from my point of view. But you need to have a stage, you need to let the people know what are you aiming for. And then afterwards telling them, you remember, now it's here, that is a success, was very great.
I love that. That is so smart. You ask for advice from more senior position people, and then you inform them of the results because they are engaged now. They gave you advice. Of course, they want to know what happened. Very smart. I love that. Now, a different subject, I believe that good leaders have good habits, and some people are in a continuous learning mode, and some people think win-win, and some people believe in being proactive. What are some of your habits?
In general, I would say I'm always curious and want to improve things. I love to get insights from other people in this business, from different parties to understand, okay, what they're working on. I'm so curious. And out of this, and that is probably if you would ask my team here, my direct reporters, they always shake their heads that, oh God, Roland is coming up again, because I'm trying to give impulses, but I want to challenge people to think about it. And that is a typical habit from me. I'm looking everywhere get my ideas. I need to be creative here. And then out of the creation, I love to give these inputs to my people. And then I challenge them to think. And we have a very open feedback culture here in the company. My direct report appreciate it because we brought up quite a lot of good things here in this company. That is probably the very typical habit. I'm always looking for something new.
That's great habit, to be curious and ask questions and involve a lot of people. That's a great thing to do.
But it creates workload at the same time, and so not everybody is happy about it.
Of course. Now, you alluded to this earlier. You said you work for some amazing leaders. What are some of the most admired leadership traits that you've gleaned from them?
First of all, we're very different to each other. So lucky me, I met so many great people. They have a couple of things in common, but they were so individually. And I would say I admire leaders most who are visionary and inspiring to me, who were able to bring potential, what I have never not seen before, out of me. And that is one thing what I really admire. And the second thing is my former bosses who were leading by example. I love this. When I started here, I had from my diary reporters, they gave me a coffee mug. Unfortunately, I don't have it here. There was a kind of thing stated, 7 rules being a boss. And that was also these kind of leading by example things, doing this extra mile and listen and all this kind of stuff. That is what I think is very important. Be there, be reachable for these people. And I worked for who are really have this visionary, this inspiring thing, and let me say, enabled my potential. And I was motivated to do not only because I wanted to follow something, but also they were giving a very good example to me how they can work. So that is something I really admire most.
I totally agree with you. These two happen to be my favorite leadership traits. One is the ability to formulate a vision and to communicate it in such a way that it's powerful, it's binding, it's inspirational. I like that very much. The second one is about leading by example. Totally agree with you. The whole company takes after you, the way that you model yourself. It's very powerful. Related to that question, when you interview high-level candidates, what are the qualities that you look for?
First of all, before I go to qualities and competence and skills and this kind of stuff, I first of all try to verify if the person I'm talking to really understood what we are aiming for. I try to give an overview where we are and where we want to be. And in between, this person plays a certain role, right? And to understand the goal, I think it's the most important. Leadership skills are very important. As I just mentioned, you have to be someone who can lead by example, who does not take something special only for him. The other very important thing is how to communicate in different directions. And I try to challenge those people as well. I'm trying to give also some scenarios. So someone needs to be very confident with what he knows and what he can do. And then what I really much like in terms of qualities I'm looking for is the ability to use different methodologies, because people are different, business scenarios are different. We are challenged with so many different cases every day. You need to be able to adapt to the situations, and you need to have a variety of methodologies in your pocket. And you need to know, okay, when I can use which one to achieve my goal. That is probably where I'm looking at.
Yeah, that last point is so true. We live in a fast changing world, and being flexible and having all the tools is important. Now, let's talk about work-life harmony. You have a very demanding job, and I was curious as to how you balance the needs at work versus your personal life.
That is a very good question. And that is sometimes challenging. But lucky me, I have a wonderful family, and I'm grateful for my family. I have a daughter, and my wife is supporting me. It's great. And she helps me when it is getting too disbalanced. She helps me to find these family-only time slots, right? When it really comes to the situation that my head seems to be overloaded. I'm a simple person. I just go out walking in nature. That's what I do. I switch off my phone, be an afternoon away or on the weekend. In former days, I used to play golf, but I don't have the time for it. So I really enjoy being out in nature for half an hour or whatever. I don't have a dog or something like this. It's just me. So that is how I try to balance it out. I'm happy that I have someone at home who sometimes say, hey, my friend, be careful. We need to find the opportunity for us here. And that's where I'm very thankful for.
Having a supportive, understanding family is so important to our career. And I like that you always take some time to yourself and walk in the park or in the forest over there. It's a good thing to do. We all need some quiet time. I've seen you in action. You are very thoughtful and well-spoken. Would you mind to share your advice on how we can improve our communications skills?
In German, maybe. In English, obviously, I'm not a native speaker. And sometimes I'm challenging with my English. But generally speaking, the better you listen, the less you need to say. That is something I was taught by also a very good friend and mentor of mine who unfortunately passed away a couple of weeks ago. But he always said, listen, if you want to be a good salesperson, you would first of all need to learn to listen before you start talking. I do think it's important to understand in which situation I'm talking to what kind of person and what is there's a quite interesting concept, what Harvard concept. We want to get a win-win situation. There's a little bit described how you have to communicate with each other and how you have to listen and to understand. I think that is a very important thing because there you have a chance when you understand this to understand how you have to address your topics, how you need to behave with this person or with the audience in front of you, right? And I think the most important thing is you want that the consignees of your message understand the message, right? So it means be polite, show respect, listen to people, understand who's in front of you. And it doesn't matter if you're talking to each other or you're writing to each other, if you do a text message or whatever, be polite and respectful. That is the number one, right? And that is something I would recommend to everybody out there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Communication skills is not just about talking, it's about listening. I think the vast majority of people get so busy talking, they fail to listen. And one of the 7 habits of highly effective people is seek first to understand, which involves active listening. Very
Yeah.
good advice. Thank you. Now, some people say your network is your net worth, and it certainly is true with you. You have done very well because of your network. Can you advise us on networking?
Yeah. And first of all, I think network is not only what you have on social media, right? That maybe needs to be taken into consideration here. I have the feeling that nowadays network is only happening online. I met quite a lot of people. For those I met, it is not that I need to call them every week or left a message on regular basis or whatever. No, I know who they are, what they did when we met. And at a certain moment, when they are approaching me or asking me for something, I'm here and happy to help. Sometimes I have to say no because I have nothing to give. I have no additional value for those people. But if I have, I'm happy to help. Right? And from my point of view, my network is not there to bring me my business or to give me my business. My network is there to help me in situations. Sounding board is a bullet point here. Reflections is a bullet point. Sometimes I need to have an advice. So I know who I can talk to in certain circumstances. That is my interpretation of network. But what you want to take out of it, you need to be prepared to put it in as well, right? That is how a network is working. And that is somehow, by the way, how I get my jobs. I never applied for a job, honestly speaking. In the network, people were talking about me, and I was invited to get to know the one or the other project or opportunity, and I was invited for talks, right? Or people were recommending me because they know me, because we got to know each other on an event or somewhere, and the people talk with them, hey, this guy, he's a smart one. He was respectful and polite, and he had some very good answers and ideas on certain things. And I looked at him, he had I don't know what kind of track record. So this is the person you should talk to. So network helps to get recommendations. Networks help to get feedbacks. Network does not automatically mean they bring you business. And I think at least that's the way I try to handle my network. And for me, that is a way to do it. I don't know how other people do that. Sometimes I'm approached and people say, oh, can you do me this favor? And I said, it's not about doing favors. I'm working in the hospitality industry. People calling me up and say, hey, I want to have special prices on accommodation somewhere. And I say, hey, wow, I'm earning my money with that. What do you think I could do here? That is not the idea. The idea is, can we help each other in our growth, in our building our mindset? Can you give me an advice before I step somewhere into a situation where I look like a dumb person or whatever? That is my interpretation of network. And for me, when you handle it like this, then it could be a net worth because you are getting better. That's a little bit my idea. That's how I interpret it.
I agree with you. The network is only your net worth if you are not transactional, if you're not trying to sell something or trying to get something out of the relationship, but rather it's helping one another. I like that very much.
Yes.
Now, we're coming
And
to the
imagine, excuse me, David, maybe I can add this. Imagine someone is in a situation and there's a business opportunity. And you say, I can't do it, it's not my business, but I know someone and I really much like him and I know it's a reliable person, it's a trustworthy person and so on. And I just match those people together. And when they find a solution to make business with each other, wonderful. That's something I wanted to add. Sorry, I was interrupting.
You're absolutely right. In fact, Chip Conley, who's very well known in the industry here, he also said the same thing. He said he likes to bring people together where they can help one another. So we're tapping into our network to help other people as well. Now we're coming to the end of the interview. I have two more questions for you. Given all that you have learned and experienced, what is the advice that you would give to your younger self?
That is a good question. My younger one. I would probably say never stop learning because I thought too early I'm already prepared and done to go out and conquer the world. Nowadays, I would say take more time, never stop learning, and listen to people with experience. Listen to people with experiences. They are not trying to show off and tell you they know everything better. They just have experience. You can make an advantage out of it to understand what they went through. And I probably would say, Roland, you often have to hold on your temper. When I was younger, I was sometimes with a big temper. And nowadays, I would say, hey, that is important that you have this, you have to hold temper. It is always good to be respectful to each other and don't get out of here. This is not good. And probably the next or the last thing I will tell myself, my younger self, is trust in you. Trust in you.
It is so true, especially the last one, trust in you. It cannot be overstated because a lot of times we second guess ourselves. Our intuition actually is something that we can always rely on.
Yep.
Thanks for sharing that advice. Our show is about self-empowerment. So would you mind to give your final advice on self-empowerment?
We have to make decisions, right? It is something what belongs to our daily work. We have to do it. We shouldn't be afraid of it. But I think it would be good, first of all, to understand yourself. Who are you? When you look into the mirror, what do you see? And what do you want to see? But understand, what do you see? That is a kind of study point again for me. And from there, everything starts. Your ambitions, your goals, the way how life should treat you, right? That starts from there. And believe in yourself, accept you matter. It's you to initiate. It's you to do the things. It is you who can make the difference. You don't have to wait for any other. You have to do it on your own. And believe in you, help others along the way, and karma is with you.
I love that because I've been long a believer that we are the masters of our own destiny. It's within our control. So we need to believe in ourselves. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. Roland, I know it's late over there in Germany, and I appreciate your giving us the time.
David, thank you very much for having me. It was, well, time was flying. So again, thanks for having me and all the best.
Oh, thank you, Roland. And for the audience that tune in, I appreciate your taking the time to join us today. And if you like this interview, I hope you would join us on our website, itspersonalstories.com. We hope to see you there.